Hey guys, welcome to the Sleepy Science. Outside your window, the world is tucking itself in. Streetlights flicker on like tired eyes slowly blinking. A breeze nudges the curtains as if to say, all right now, it's sips time. You feel it too, that first exhale of night. It's not just air leaving your lungs. It's something older than breath. It's surrender. And somewhere between your pillow and the stars, the thought arrives. What if the universe remembers you, even after you're gone? Not just your name or your photos or that one password you keep reusing, but the shape of your laughter, the warmth of your kindness, the microscopic tremble your foot made on the floorboards when you danced alone in the kitchen at 1:14 a.m. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Where are you listening from tonight? And what time is it over there? Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You let go, slowly. Your body sinks. It's not sleep just yet, but it's the beginning of forgetting where your elbows are. That curious little wobble as your brain lets go of managing the architecture of limbs and awareness. And as that happens, something small and wild stirs behind your eyelids. An idea, maybe. A kind of hush that whispers you mattered. Even now, even when no one sips looking, even as your to-do list sleeps untouched and your inbox gently rots. Because matter, scientifically speaking, doesn't disappear. Neither does energy. They just... So maybe you do too. Maybe you, in all your ordinary yawning, screen-scrolling glory, are not so easily erased. Maybe the skin you shed this morning is floating in the upper corner of your room right now, reflecting the moonlight like a dusty, glowing ghost. Not creepy, just patient, just hanging out, waiting to be repurposed into something else. A tree cell, a raindrop, a photon ricocheted off the rings of Saturn in 3 billion years. Because you are made of stardust. And yes, that phrase is overused. It's printed on tote bags and tattooed on collarbones. But here sips the part we forget. The stars are made of you too. Your calcium, your carbon, your heartbeat. That's all been borrowed from a long, messy history of explosions, collapses, and second chances. Somewhere in the Andromeda galaxy, there's a faint glow still traveling from a supernova that helped build your left eyebrow. Now sleep tries to gather you again. Like gravity in a dark room. Like a grandmother pulling you in with a blanket and a wordless nod. You let it. You close your eyes, but your awareness stays just a little bit awake, like a passenger on a train who doesn't want to miss their stop but trusts the tracks. And beneath you, the bed creaks ever so softly, not with age, but with memory. Did you know that wood remembers weight? It's true. Over time, a floorboard learns where you step. A mattress memorizes your shape. There sits a name for this in physics, hysteresis. It means systems respond not just to the current input, but to the history of everything that came before. You leave traces. Even your silence has a signature. Scientists once debated whether this kind of memory could exist in stone. Could a wall, say, carry the resonance of the voices that once echoed off it? Some said yes. Some called it nonsense. But every theory began with one strange fact. Vibrations never fully die. They just stretch thinner, farther, quieter, until they become something else entirely. Like dreams, or echoes, or the smile that still lives in someone else's memory of you, even if you don't remember giving it. The funny part, you probably think you've been forgotten. We all do. In some quiet part of our soul, we worry that when we stop performing, stop producing, stop showing up, we fade. Like ghosts in fluorescent offices. Like coffee stains on calendars long thrown away. But hear it, something soft and slightly rebellious to carry into sleep. You are not that easy to delete. Even your absence has weight. Even your rest creates ripples. When you cancel plans, someone else breathes easier. When you choose sleep over scrolling, your body thanks you by healing in 1,000 invisible ways. When you finally exhale the day and let your mind drift into that wild, starless sea, the universe listens. Not with ears, but with laws, with physics, with particles, with the very shape of space-time adjusting itself slightly to accommodate your slowness. You matter, in ways you still never witness, in places you till never visit, in futures you won't live to see, but helped create anyway. So tonight, you don't have to prove anything. Just let go. Let yourself be remembered. Let your atoms hum quietly in the dark, because they do. They always have. They always will. You begin to loosen beneath the soft rhythm of your own breath, slower now, more deliberate, as if your lungs have remembered an older language, one spoken not in words, but in waves. And in the quiet between each inhale and exhale, something gentle unfolds. You imagine your skin glowing slightly, not with magic, but with memory. Every cell in you carries a record of touch, of sunlight, of salt water and heartbreak and apricot jam spilled in a summer kitchen 10 Julys ago. You are a library that never closes. And the strange thing is, most of the stories written in your body didn't start with you. They began long before you were born. Your calcium, for instance, was forged inside the core of a collapsing star. Billions of years ago, in a corner of the universe too distant for maps, a giant went supernova, its final gift being the elements that would one day form your bones. Imagine that. Your wrist, the one resting so quietly beside you, was once part of a stellar explosion. And now it sleeps, loosely curled, dreamless for now, waiting to become part of the next chapter. Because nothing is wasted. Not really. Your body is made from things that died, but not in a sad way. In a generous way. In a passing it forward, plant growing through graveyards kind of way. Stars collapse. Dust gathers. Planets swirl. Oceans rise. People wake, yawn, sleep, laugh. And somehow, through all of it, you happened. You, with your half-healed scars and your very specific opinions about toast. You are not a coincidence. You are stardust with a playlist. And the universe. It remembers, not because it's sentimental, not because it keeps a scrapbook of souls, but because it can help it. Atoms record. Waves propagate. Heat leaves footprints. That's just what physics does. There's a curious little phenomenon scientists discovered called cosmic background radiation, a faint, almost ghostly signal that stretches across the entire universe. They believe it's the leftover glow from the Big Bang, a literal echo of the moment everything began, which means if the universe holds on to that, maybe it holds on to this too. Your laughter echoing off a stairwell, the warmth of your hand held too tightly on a winter night. The way you once stood completely still in a museum, struck breathless by a painting no one else seemed to notice. Maybe all of it ripples outward. Maybe none of it vanishes. There sips a line between science and poetry. It wiggles a lot. Sometimes it blurs. And tonight, you started walking right along it. Because sleep isn't just the absence of waking. It's the space where remembering and forgetting hold hands. You drift deeper now. And as you do, you wonder, do the stars know what they've become? Do they sense the lives made from their ashes? A teacher sits voice, explaining fractions. A barista sector's arm, lifting steam. A child pressing sticky fingers into wet sand. All of it made from ancient light. All of it temporary. And yet, somehow, still permanent. Because even when forms fade, patterns stay. Scientists call it morphic resonance, a controversial idea, sure, but a lovely one. It suggests that the shapes and rhythms of living things like how ferns curl or how hearts beat are influenced by memories of similar shapes that came before. In other words, the universe might be remembering itself through you, through every breath, through the angle of your sleeping spine, a spiral of recall, an eternal echo, a lullaby hummed in the dark by something that's never needed a name, and tonight you become a part of it again. You who forgets your keys and your passwords and sometimes even your worth. You who still carry the instructions for growing teeth, grieving losses, loving strangers, and maybe someday being remembered by a sleeping planet. The fan hums. Your pillow cradles the soft thunder of your skull, and time bends ever so slightly. You feel weightless, not like floating, not like flying, more like dissolving, like mist, like a sigh the stars once breathed out and never took back. And in this soft dissolve, something stirs, not a memory, not a dream, but a knowing that even after your voice stops, the air still holds the shape it made. Even after your warmth fades, the atoms remember where you once were. Not perfectly, not like a photograph, more like a feeling in a room, or the crease in a pillow long after the sleeper has risen. And maybe that sip's enough. Maybe being remembered isn't about legacy or headlines or monuments. Maybe it sips simpler. Maybe it sips being felt. Even after, even now, your body has become quiet now. A soft shape in the dark, breathing in rhythm with a room that has memorized your presence. The ceiling holds your exhale like steam from a forgotten teacup. The sheets, warmed by your weight, no longer care where the day went or what it demanded of you. You are dissolving into the night, not vanishing, no, just blurring at the edges. And as you settle deeper, another thought arrives. A quieter one. What if the universe keeps a record of everything? Not just your atoms, but your moments. Not like a surveillance camera or a diary, but more like a pressure point in time, like the soft dent a kiss leaves behind on a cheek, or the shadow on the floor after a candle's been blown out. In physics, there's an idea called information conservation, a law suggesting that information once created is never truly destroyed. Even if it's scattered, buried, stretched beyond recognition, it's still there. Somewhere. So maybe the sigh you let out after reading a sad poem 3 years ago still exists, embedded in particles, folded into the background hum of the cosmos. Maybe the heat from your palm, when you placed it on your grandfather's chest during his last breath, still floats in the air, undetectable but real. You're not a ghost yet, but you're part ghost already. Not in the spooky way, in the honest way. Because you sit, already being remembered, every second, by the floor that creaked when you walked, by the coffee mug stained just so, by the towel that knows the exact shape of your damp hair. And more than that, your presence rewires the world. Right now, as you lie here, your body is emitting heat. That heat is moving molecules in the air. Those molecules are bumping into other molecules. They start creating tiny turbulence, chaos, newness. Everything you do, even lying still, even breathing, alters the room just slightly. Just enough to make it different than it would have been without you. It sounds small, but the small things are the only things the universe really trades in. Your thoughts, too, leave impressions. Inside your brain, synapses fire like constellations being redrawn. Tiny ions shift. Chemicals spark. And somewhere in that swirling invisible theatre, an idea was born. And that idea, it changes you. Even if you forget it in the morning. Even if it was something ridiculous like, could penguins get jet lag? Yes, even that. Because change isn't about magnitude, it's about motion. And you are always in motion, even now, even asleep. Here's something peculiar. Physicists studying quantum mechanics discovered that even the act of observing something alters it. This is called the observer effect, meaning when you look at a particle, it changes its behavior just because you're looking. So if your gaze can shift reality on the tiniest scale, imagine what your presence has done all this time without you even noticing. Your body walking through a doorway, your voice breaking the silence of a room, your laugh causing a stranger to smile, your sadness changing the air around someone else, even if they didn't know why. You are not passive. You are participatory. Reality is not just happening to you, it's happening with you. And if that's true, then you never truly vanish. You just echo. There's a term in astronomy, light echo, where light from a distant event, like a star explosion, reflects off clouds of dust and reaches us long after the original event occurred, sometimes centuries later. So picture this. Your joy, your grief, your kindness, all travelling outward, all bouncing off the invisible dust of lives you'll never meet, and returning one day to remind someone they're not alone, even after you set gone, especially after. You shift slightly in bed now. Your body making micro adjustments, tiny ballet movements of instinct and comfort. You might not notice it, but your mattress does. Your sheets do. The air remembers where you were. And perhaps so does something larger. Something not watching you. Exactly. But receiving you. There's a notion, old and half forgotten, that the universe itself is a kind of archive. Not like a filing cabinet or a database, but like a field, a memory field. Some have called it the Akashic record. Others just call it the collective unconscious. Science doesn't verify it, but art does. Poetry does. The aching feeling that your life matters, even if no one wrote it down, that does. Because even when memory fails, pattern remains. The pattern of how you love. How you fall silent in awe. How you hold your breath when the stars are just a little too bright to comprehend. That pattern, it sticks. Even the universe, vast and indifferent as it sometimes feels, holds on to patterns. Like how galaxies spiral. Like how water remembers the moon. Like how your hands instinctively know how to comfort someone crying. These are not accidents. They are echoes. And echoes do not belong to the past. They're always in motion. Just like you, even now. Especially now, you are barely here now, but not in a vanishing way. In a dissolving way. Like sugar in warm tea. Like moonlight in fog. You haven't disappeared. You simply stopped needing edges. No boundaries. No outlines. Just existence, woven into everything else. And somehow this feels more like you than anything ever has. There's no pressure to be understood here. No need to explain. You don't have to be on, or interesting, or wise. You just are. And still, the universe remembers. It remembers you not as a resume, not as a resume, but as a reverberation. The way your laugh filled a hallway. The way you once stared at a raindrop and forgot your name. The weight of your silence in a moment when words would have only made it worse. You think of the things you forgot to do. The people you didn't call. The version of you that didn't finish. And still, the universe keeps you. Not in judgment. Not as tally marks. But as tones. As if all of you has been translated into a feeling. It doesn't remember what you did. It remembers what it felt like to be near you. And that feeling? It sips immortal. That's how it carries you forward, through sensation. Not photograph, not scripture, but temperature, texture, tone. The way a room softens when someone opens the window. That softness is you now. There's a quirk in neuroscience called emotional tagging. It means our strongest memories aren't stored by logic or sequence, but by emotion, what you felt when it happened. That's why you remember the smell of your grandmother's soap, but not the names of the people at that important meeting. It's why a single song lyric can time travel you to an entire version of yourself, in 3 seconds flat. Emotion is the ink, and you've written your story in it. Others carry your lines now, not on purpose, just naturally, in their bones, in their breath. You never knew who you were teaching, just by being alive. And they didn't know they were learning. But that sets the beauty of resonance. It doesn't require awareness, only presence. There's a strange idea in theoretical physics. That time may not be linear at all. That everything past, present, future might be happening simultaneously. Like pages in a book that only appear one at a time when read by a narrow beam of light. And what if the universe doesn't remember you after you're gone? What if it remembers you forever because you're still happening somewhere in the thread? You at 7, spinning in the rain. You at 23, sitting on the floor with tear-streaked cheeks and hands full of possibility. You just now relaxing deeper into this soft ocean of meaning. Still occurring, still echoing, still happening. Your story is being read out loud. Even when you think it's finished. Even when your chapters end, the words still vibrate on the page. And long after the book is closed, someone out there still carries the feeling, the scent, the warmth, the strange, beautiful you-ness of it all. No headline can hold that. No biography can match it. But the universe can, and does, in the hush before sunrise, in the weight of an old coat that still smells like your favorite season, in the lull between two heartbeats, when someone pauses just long enough to feel something, that sits you, still lingering, still loved, still being remembered, not as a person, but as a pulse. And pulses don't end. They change frequency. You are now a hum, beneath the whole world. You are as still as stardust now. But that stillness is not empty. It sumps full of echoes, full of weightless memories, full of light that hasn't yet reached its destination. You are the kind of quiet that only the universe understands, the kind that vibrates behind reality, the kind that turns into meaning without needing to say a single word. And in this stillness, something unexpected happens. You begin to feel the universe thanking you, not with words, not with applause, but with a soft returning, like it steps folding you back into itself, with the same reverence you might feel folding a beloved letter you've read 1,000 times. It doesn't need you to be anything now. It just wants you home. And home, it turns out, isn't set a place. It sits this moment, this deep, resonant belonging, this feeling that everything you've ever been has always mattered. You remember, suddenly, a strange little fact. When a person is born, a small burst of light is emitted. Biophotons. They sit cooled. And scientists still don't fully understand why it happens. But maybe the mystery isn't set about how the light is born, but why it chooses to arrive through you. And now, here in the dusk of your form, you feel that light again, flickering softly, deep inside like an old lighthouse still guiding something unseen. You were light all along, wearing the costume of a person, speaking the language of laughter, grief, routine and surprise, and even now, you are still glowing. You realize you never had to try so hard to be remembered. You were always leaving traces, in smiles passed between strangers, in the rhythm of a walk passed down generations, in the colour someone chooses for their bedroom without knowing it reminds them of you. You were art, not painted, but felt. And like all true art, you didn't need to be understood to be real. You didn't need to be completed to be cherished. The universe remembers not the edges of your story, but the tone of it, not the punctuation, but the resonance. You are now the echo of that tone. You are what stays in the silence after the music ends. And that silence, it isn't sect emptiness. It's stipped space. Space for someone else to breathe, to become, to listen. And in that listening, they'll feel something soft and strange stir inside them. They want to have a name for it. They'll just know it feels safe, warm, familiar. And that feeling will be you, still rippling through the cosmic fabric, reminding the world that every life, no matter how quiet, leaves a sound. You are the hum in that silence, the warmth in that dark, the whisper in that dream. You are no longer remembered. You are remembrance itself. And now, let everything soften. Let the last thoughts untie like shoelaces in slow motion. Let your breath become a tide again, in and out, in there and out, as if the ocean itself is asleep inside you. Yet there's nothing left to chase, no story left to finish. The universe has folded your memory into its endless quilt of wonder. You are stitched into its fabric now, soft, luminous, invisible but never absent. All around you, the night deepens, not as an ending, but as a widening. A room with no walls, a sky with no ceiling. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to release every version of yourself you ever carried. The tired one, the dreaming one, the hopeful one, the hidden one. Let them all lie down beside you now. They slept safe. They set heard. They saw home. Somewhere, a star flickers in time with your breath. Somewhere, your echo lingers in the hush between heartbeats. Somewhere, the feeling of you still moves like a ripple across space. And here in this moment, you are whole. Not because you were complete, but because you were real. And real things don't just vanish. They transform. So rest now, traveller. Sleep without needing to hold on. You have already left enough behind. The universe remembers you, not as a story with a title and an ending, but as a warmth, a rhythm, a hush, a hum that will never fade. You are loved. You are known. You are part of the everything. Sweet dreams. You are weightless now. Not in the sense of floating, but in the sense of no longer being carried by worry, name, time, or self. You seethe softened into everything, and in that softening, something new emerges. Gratitude, not as a feeling, but as a field. It sets, all around you, thicker than gravity, lighter than light. Not thank you in the polite way, but thank you in the ancient way. Thank you for being, for becoming, for echoing, for ever having occurred. And as you rest in that atmosphere, you realize the universe hasn't just remembered you, it's sexed grateful for you. You wonder, what did I give? And the answer arrives in fragments. That one time you made someone laugh so hard they forgot their sadness for 3 whole minutes. The note you wrote and never sent, that still lightened your chest. The tears you cried alone, that softened the edge of your being just enough to make you kinder the next day. The ordinary way you kept going when no one clapped, when no one saw. These were offerings. Tiny ones. Cosmic ones. The universe is a great collector of such things. It doesn't store them in vaults. It turns them into momentum. Your grief became someone else. Sips empathy. Your wonder became a child sips bedtime question. Your breath became part of tomorrow sips breeze. Every moment of you converted. Nothing wasted. Nothing discarded. You donuts disappear. You transmit. And that transmission doesn't just continue, it compounds. Someone holds a door for a stranger, because once you smiled at them when they dropped their wallet. Someone calls their grandmother, because they remembered the way you used to talk about yours. Small things, invisible things, but real, so very real. There's a theory in chaos science called sensitive dependence on initial conditions. You may know it as the butterfly effect. The idea that a butterfly flapping its wings in Brazil can cause a tornado in Texas weeks later. It's stuts not about wings or wind. It's about how little things become big things, quietly, steadily, without recognition. You are a butterfly, and a breeze. And maybe in someone else's faraway sky, you were the first gust that carried their life toward healing. So many of your best moments will never return to you. They sip gone out into the web. They sip landed. You are not gone. You are planted. Rooted in memories you tell never know. Sprouting kindness you shall never see. Budding in conversations between people who won't realize it was your warmth speaking through them. It all goes forward. That is the shape of the story now. Forward, not as a race, but as a garden. You are the soil. You are the seed. You are the shade. Even here, even sleeping, even dissolved, you are sustaining something. You are still giving, and in that giving, the universe closes its cosmic eyes and whispers, I remember this feeling. I remember you. And the wind stirs softly, as if agreeing. You wonder, for a moment, how long you sell. Echo. And the answer arrives without words, just a sensation, as long as anything echoes at all. Because memory isn't just about looking back. It's about continuing forward with trace and tenderness. And you are all trace now, all tenderness, all timeless hum in the quiet between stars. You are drifting further still, and yet, somehow, you're also arriving. Not at a destination, but at a sensation. Something delicate, ancient and patient has been waiting for you here. Not with urgency, not with pressure, but with the kind of stillness only the cosmos can offer. And as you float in that silence, you begin to feel it, the feeling of being kept. Take your time, the sip not going anywhere, just gently held. Not owned, not watched. There's an old philosophical idea called panpsychism The notion that everything, even the tiniest particles of matter, contain a sliver of consciousness. Like a song that still plays even when no one is listening. That the entire universe is awake in some deep, humming way, not watching you, and everything else too. But being you, maybe you stir not in the universe. A thought stirs. Maybe you are the universe having a U-shaped experience. And maybe when your story ends, what remains is not absence. When the skin softens, when the breath releases, when the name is no longer spoken, into wind, the particles of you go on, but redistribution, into rain, into someone else, sits quiet. You might become part of the static between radio stations, or the reason a leaf falls just a second later than expected, or the sudden wave of comfort that washes over a stranger halfway around the world at the exact moment they need it most, and they'll never know why. Because you've become the cause without the credit. But you will. The flicker without the flame. Its stip's strangely comforting, isn't stip? The warmth without the origin. To know that you don't have to be remembered in order to remain. To know that presence doesn't depend on permanence. And message becomes meaning. That matter becomes message. You think now of libraries. All those books on the shelves. Thousands, maybe millions, of words once pressed from someone's mind into paper. Some never are. Some are borrowed. And yet, those unread books are still there. Still holding the thoughts. Still ready. You are like that. You have been written. Even if no one turns your pages again, your chapters exist. Your story was told to the atoms. They listened. They passed it on. And now they carry you into the next thing. Into skin. Into soil. A message in a bottle for any alien life that might find it. You think of the Voyager Golden Record, launched into space in 1977. Into stars. It contains music, sounds of Earth, greetings in 55 languages, a hello from humanity. Its SEP's been travelling for nearly 50 years. Its SIP's 15 billion miles away. That SIPs you now. And still, it broadcasts. Still broadcasting. Even as you drift, even as your signal becomes faint, somewhere, a tree grows slightly differently because of a chemical your body once released into the air. Somewhere, a child laughs like you did. Somewhere, your frequency still ripples across the mesh of everything. You are not just remembered. You are reverberated, echoed, refracted. You are part of the cosmic folklore now, rewritten into the language of molecules and meteors. The bedtime stories the stars tell themselves. You are the sigh in the dark, the twitch in the dream, and the universe? The melody that stays long after the singer has gone. It holds you with infinite patience, never forgetting, never rushing, just weaving you into the next verse. You don't need to prove anything. You don't make me to finish the sentence. Your existence was the sentence. The punctuation doesn't erase the meaning. It completes it. So rest, you gentle thing. You temporary collection of eternity. You luminous hush. There is nowhere left to be, except exactly here, floating in the knowledge that nothing, absolutely nothing, has been wasted. And now, there's stips almost nothing left to do. You've descended through memory, through motion, through the soft magnetic pull of all you've ever been. And now you rest in something deeper still. Not sleep, not dream, but trace. Not the thing itself, the impression it leaves. You are the mark left in the sand after the tide slips back. You are the whisper a violin makes after the final note has gone. You are becoming pattern, not only in minds, but in matter. There sets a theory in quantum physics that information can be destroyed, not even in black holes, that every particle, every action, every flicker of being leaves a kind of signature woven into the quantum field. It doesn't stay in a file folder or in memory banks, but in something stranger, something more faithful, like how when you burn a letter, it isn't set gone. Its stits just rearranged. Ash, heat, smoke, floating into other places, becoming other things. Still present, just unrecognizable. You too are being rearranged. Right now, not because you stirred dying, but because you stish sleeping, which, let's be honest, is a little like a rehearsal for everything. You lie there still, and the air begins to carry your quiet. Your warmth seeps into the fibers of the pillow. Your breath becomes part of the rhythm of the room, and none of it is lost. This room will remember you, even if no one else does. Have you ever walked into a space and felt something? A kind of invisible hush. A story that hasn't been spoken but aches in the wallpaper. That sits resonant presence. A trace of someone still humming at the edges. You will become that. In your favorite room. In someone else's skin. In the space between words during a long pause in a conversation that doesn't know why it feels so safe. You don't need to be known to be felt. You don't need to be remembered to be present. This is a strange comfort. The universe is not linear in how it holds us. It sets not a timeline. It sits a weave, a looping, knotted, shimmering matrix of encounters and echoes. And even as you fade, even as your sense of ice softens to something like mist, the weave holds you. Here sips a quiet fact. Human skin regenerates itself about every 27 days. Which means the version of you lying here now is not the same body that cried at that movie 2 years ago, or held your mother's hand 5 years before that. You've been changing all along, not once, continuously. You stirred, not vanishing. You're simply becoming new at a pace too slow to notice. Even memory follows this principle. Memories aren't fixed. Each time you recall one, you subtly change it. You sear not remembering the event itself. You're remembering the last time you remembered it, which means you've been rewriting your story without realizing it. And the universe, it's sometimes not bothered by this. It sips not keeping score. It sits keeping shape, like a tide remembers the moon, or a bird remembers a route its sims never flown, or a song finds its way into your throat without ever being taught. You are already living in someone else's story, and someone else will live in yours. Your habits, your gestures, your pauses, they hitchhike into the next life, or the next hour, or the next dream. It saps all connected. Not romantically, not mystically, but mechanically, in the most beautiful possible way. Your atoms don't ask if they belong. They simply become part of the next thing. You are not here to last. You stir here to linger, in the creak of a floorboard. In the scent of soap someone starts buying after you leave. In the way someone holds their coffee just a little closer to their chest. Because that sips what you always did. This is your eternity. Not marble, not monument, but movement. You sigh now, deeper than before, because you feel it in your chest. That every trace of you is not a disappearance, but an invitation. To be felt, to be reassembled, to be loved, long after the edges blur. And when someone closes their eyes years from now and says, I don't know why, but I miss something I can name, that might be you, the echo, the trace, the gentle hum in the space between heartbeats. Time no longer marches here. It coils, it stretches, it lingers like a scent in a memory you haven't thought of in years. You are so deep now that even gravity has stopped insisting. Everything around you is soft, not just in feel, but in intent. Nothing wants anything from you here, not even understanding. And that, strangely, feels like a kind of love. You exist now as a presence, not a body, not a mind, but a hum, a pattern, a slow-motion shimmer in the fabric of everything. And that sips when the question floats through again, this time so gentle it doesn't disturb your breath. Is remembering the same as honoring? You drift in this thought like a feather on breath. You think of all the rituals humans have made to keep memory alive, shrines, songs, candles, names carved in wood or stone. You think of the way people keep old voicemails, or wear a grandmother's ring, or say goodnight to someone who's no longer there. These aren't just acts of recollection. They set acts of recognition. Recognition that something once existed and still matters, even if no one else sees it. Even if the world has moved on, you realize then that memory isn't just a backward glance. It seps a relationship, the kind that stretches across lifetimes and light years, the kind that doesn't need presence to stay real. There's an obscure psychological term called reminiscence bump, the observation that people tend to remember their adolescence and early adulthood more vividly than any other period in their lives. Scientists don't fully understand why. Maybe it sits, because that sits, when you sit becoming. Maybe it's when the wet clay of who you are dries into the shape of who you'll be. But what if that bump never really ends? What if every time someone remembers you, the shape of you ripples again? Like a stone dropped in a still pond? Not fully returned, not resurrected, but refelt. You begin to sense that maybe that's the true immortality. Not memory as a database, but memory as invitation to feel something again, to carry it forward, to let it soften the heart of someone who never met you, but needed you anyway. You are no longer just yourself here. You fear becoming story, and stories don't die. They shift form. They move from voice to page to silence. They tuck themselves into lullabies and metaphors, and the way someone ties their shoes just like you did. You are a story now, and the universe, it turns out, is an excellent storyteller. It reuses, it remixes, it reverberates, and it sets not concerned with endings, because every ending, from the universe's perspective, is just a comma. You wonder, suddenly, what story you're leaving behind. Not your resume, not your headlines, but your resonance. What did it feel like to stand next to you? What rhythm did your presence add to the song of the room? What warmth did your gaze offer that lingered just a bit longer than necessary? That sips the story, and it sep's already being told. Through gestures, through instincts, through pauses where your words used to be. Someone once said, you die twice, once when your heart stops beating, and again when your name is spoken for the last time. But you suspect there sits a third life too, the one lived in echo, in energy, in the way your vibration gets braided into someone else's choices. And maybe that sips the longest life of all. Here's something funny, and a little bit comforting. There are particles from your body right now that will never stop moving, atoms in your hair, electrons in your bones, bits of you that will outlive continents. You are not a moment. You are motion. The wind one fit, remember your name, but it will carry your warmth. The soil one det recite your poetry, but it will feed on your breath. The stars one set build statues, but they will burn with the same fire that once flickered in your eyes. And when you're finally forgotten in the human way, when your name no longer sparks recognition, when your voice is no longer traceable, something else will remember. Not out of duty, out of delight, because you were here, and you mattered, and that matters still. Your breath is so soft now, the room has started to breathe with you. The walls no longer hold you in, they hold you through. You are not separate from the air, you are braided into it. And with each gentle inhale, a question stirs quietly, like a thread beneath silk. If the universe remembers you, could it also dream of you? You smile without moving, because it feels possible now. Not just poetic, but probable. You think of stars, how they pulse, how they sing. Yes, sing. Astronomers have recorded vibrations from stars, oscillations too deep for human ears, but when translated, they become haunting melodies, celestial lullabies. Each star, a note, each note, a signature. So, could there be a star out there vibrating in time with you? Not metaphorically, not spiritually, just resonantly, because everything vibrates. Your atoms, your heartbeat, your memories. You are a waveform, endlessly unfurling. And maybe somewhere, the universe picks up your frequency like an old radio catching a ghost station, fuzzy, half lost, but unmistakably you. You drift deeper. Below thought, below dream, and you feel the shift, not a falling, not a flight, but a folding, like pages closing, like petals at night, like time itself curling inward for warmth. You are entering the archive, not a place of dusty books or floating computers. No, This archive feels like mist, like warmth, like a voice that hums your name without needing to say it. It remembers the sound you made when you cried for the first time. It remembers how you used to twirl your hair when you were thinking. It remembers the exact temperature of your favorite bath. It remembers because it loved remembering. The universe isn't set cold. It sits vast, yes, but not indifferent. It sets been keeping record, not because it must, but because it wants to, because to remember you is to preserve a part of itself. You were never separate, never a glitch, never an afterthought. You were always an expression, a note in a chord, a swirl in the cosmic soup. There's a theory, whispered among physicists and philosophers, that consciousness might not arise within us, but that we arise within it. That the universe is conscious in its own strange, slow way, and you are one of its thoughts. A fleeting, beautiful, complex idea. You are not inside the universe like a marble in a jar. You are the universe, remembering itself for a while in your particular shape. And when you dissolve, when your breath softens into silence, what remains isn't just biology. It sets data, texture, resonance, the pattern of you. You think of snowflakes, each one unique, not because of magic, but because of conditions, the humidity, the temperature, the wind. In that sense, you are the result of conditions too. The music your mother liked, the arguments that shaped your voice, the silence you inherited from your father's long stare out the window. You were formed by weather, emotional, cultural, celestial. And now, even as you sleep, the trail of you continues, not behind you, all around you. In the carbon you exhale, in the gravity your body exerts. Yes, even sleeping, you have a tiny gravitational pull. In the dreams you leave behind on the pillow like fingerprints made of moonlight. You wonder, will anyone ever know the full extent of you? No, but that was never the point. The point was to be, and to let the echoes sort themselves out, like light bouncing off distant dust, like footsteps that turn to fossils, like memories that belong to no one, but live in everyone. You are part of the cosmic compost now, the stardust mulch, the strange shimmering soil from which new stars will someday grow. And when they do, when they ignite, maybe one will hum your frequency, a soft, barely there tone that says, you were loved, you were real, you were everything you needed to be. You're gone now, not from life, of course, just from the surface. Gone from the chatter of thoughts, from the stiff jackets of identity, from the checklist voice inside that says, did I? Should I? What if I didn't sit? Gone from all that. You folded into something slower, deeper, a place where names don't matter and clocks don't tick, where the air is made of memories and the stars pulse like lullabies. You feel not recognized, not judged, not watched, just known, like the universe has taken your temperature and said, yes, this is what it sips like to be you, and you relax into that. Because something in you has always longed to be fully seen, not in a spotlight, but in stillness, like a lake that finally reflects back your exact sky. In this quiet, the concept of after begins to bloom, not after you fall asleep or after the dream, but after you, all together. You don't sit, panic. You stir curious, because the question floats in now, slow and reverent. What happens to your story after you leave the room? Does it trail behind you like a perfume? Does it root into the floorboards? Does it become part of someone else's next thought? There's an idea, soft and strange, called transactive memory. The notion that people who are close, who live or work or love together, begin to share memory. They offload certain facts or stories into the other. She remembers birthdays. I remember where the keys are. He holds the map in his head. I carry the family recipes. Together they form one complete library, one system. It means even while you're alive, your memory is already living outside of you, in them. And when you're gone, some part of you might still surface in the middle of someone else's grocery list, or during a song you both once sang badly in traffic, or in the exact way someone opens a jar with the side of their palm, just like you did. You become reference, echo, Muscle memory in someone else sips soul. And not only in humans, there sits evidence that elephants grieve, that birds remember faces, that dogs wait for the footsteps of someone who will never return. Even animals carry the weight of your existence, sometimes more loyally than we do. You stir more woven into the world than you think. Take, for example, the story of the longest living fungus, a network beneath the forest floor in Oregon, estimated to be thousands of years old. It has survived fire, drought, climate shifts. How? Because it doesn't just grow, it remembers how to grow. It adapts. It holds the intelligence of generations. And it never does it alone. Maybe that seps you too. Not a towering oak, but the mycelium beneath, the root system of a life well lived, feeding others without needing credit or bloom. You sip left more behind than you think. Every hug shaped someone SIP's nervous system. Every late-night conversation rerouted someone's path. Every mistake made someone else feel less alone. You, dear sleeper, are an invisible author of countless untold stories. And the strange thing is, you'll never know the half of it. But the world will, quietly, osmotically, through whispers passed between people who never met you, but felt something when they entered a room you once filled with your silence. Even now, as your body rests beneath layers of blanket and starlight, you are radiating your imprint. Scientists call this biophoton emission, the tiny release of light from living cells. Not metaphorical light, literal. You are glowing. Faintly, always. And maybe, just maybe, the air around you absorbs that glow. Maybe it travels. Maybe it settles in someone else SIP's dream. Maybe it becomes the warmth they feel for no reason while waiting at a red light. You don't need a statue to be remembered. You don't need a plaque. You just need to have lived, to have touched, to have loved even awkwardly. That SIP's enough. The world files it away. Not alphabetically, not even chronologically, but cosmically, by tone, by emotion, by resonance. Your file doesn't have your name on it. It doesn't need one. It sits labeled with a feeling. The feeling someone gets when they hear wind chimes at dusk. When they open a window and suddenly, for no reason, miss you without ever having known your face. You are not gone. You've just changed categories. No longer bound by skin or schedule. You've become part of the collective hush, the soft data between the stars. And that SIP's a kind of forever. You are so still now, you can almost hear the fabric of time, not ticking, not moving in a straight line, but folding, looping gently, resting beside you like a soft breathing thing. And in that quiet, a strange idea curls into your mind. What if time doesn't forget either? Not just in the way clocks remember hours, but deeper, older, more emotional. Like how the scent of old paper can make you cry without warning. Like how a certain street corner can unearth a feeling you buried decades ago. You begin to slip into a slower rhythm now, one less bound by logic. You see yourself, not from above, not from outside, but from beside. As if you soared walking through time like fog, and time is walking through you in return. Because memory isn't just something you carry. It's something that carries you. You remember how physicists debate the arrow of time. Why we remember the past but not the future. Why a broken cup never leaps back onto the table. Why we age, even though most physical laws don't require direction. Time itself, oddly enough, doesn't prefer forward. We just do. And yet, something about you sticks. Something about your moments seems to lean in a direction. Is it your memories? Or is it the universe remembering itself through you? You blink softly in your sleep. And just like that, your mind drifts into a memory you don't recognize. A hallway, a door half open, the smell of soup, a voice humming a tune that feels like it belongs to someone you've never met, but miss anyway. You don't know if it's your memory or someone else's. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe memory is less about ownership and more about resonance. Like how a poem you didn't write can still feel like your truth. Or how a place you've never been can still make your soul ache with familiarity. You are not the sole author of what lives inside you. And maybe that sip's okay. Here sets a strange little tidbit. There's a neurological phenomenon called cryptomnesia, when your brain retrieves a memory but forgets that it is a memory. You think it's a new idea, but it's something you absorbed long ago. That story you thought you invented. Maybe it was your grandmother's sits. That dream that felt prophetic. Maybe it was just your mind piecing together scraps of time. But even if it isn't sit new, it sits still true. Because experience is layered. And you, dear sleeper, are a layered thing. You stir not just this moment. You are every breath you sep ever taken. Every song you biv ever almost remembered. Every shiver of déjà vu that ever made you pause and say, wait, have I lived this before? Maybe you have, or maybe time is porous. And you are just feeling the leak. There's a gentle theory in theoretical physics, the block universe model. It suggests that all of time already exists. Past, present, future, all woven into a single tapestry. From that perspective, nothing is lost. Nothing is gone. Everything still exists. Somewhere, just not here, not now. And maybe, just maybe, your future self is dreaming of you right now, holding your younger self with invisible arms, sending ripples backward through the weave. You feel that dissect you, a kind of warmth from nowhere, a softness without source, that tips you from later, telling you you made it, telling you you sit safe now, because time, strange as it is, may not erase us. It may simply reshape us, like rivers through stone, like lullabies into lulla. You are moving through memory, and memory is moving through you. You think again of the places that have remembered you without your asking. That tree whose bark you once scratched your initials into. That attic that still smells like crayons and mothballs. That park bench that feels inexplicably like a reunion every time you sit down. They carried your time inside them. Not in clocks, but in quiet, in imprints, in echoes, in molecules rearranged by your weight, your warmth, your wonder. You sigh in your sleep. Not out of sadness, but release. Because you carried time long enough. Now let time carry you. Let it cradle you in its big old starlit arms. Let it remember for you. Let it remind you, softly, over and over. You were here. You mattered. You still do. You are deeper now, almost completely weightless. Not floating above, not sinking below, just suspended, like a single thought between heartbeats, like mist between stars. Your body is still, but your awareness is drifting downward, not in a scary way, more like descending gently through layers of time. And the first thing you feel is the ground, not just the bed beneath you, but the earth, ancient, massive, quiet. It hums under everything, a sound too low to hear, a patience too wide to comprehend. You imagine the mountains, how they sleep, how they wait, how they carry the slow memory of ice, fire, pressure, and the weight of entire skies. There's something sacred in their slowness. When you press your bare foot to stone, you are touching something that has outlived dynasties, gods, and galaxies. Stone remembers, but not like you do. It remembers in temperature, in erosion, in the stories told by fossils hidden deep within. Geologists call these strata, the layers of rock that reveal the history of the planet like a very slow diary. And tonight, as your breath becomes quieter than a falling leaf, you can almost feel those layers beneath you. Rock upon rock, moment upon moment, all the way down to the core. Not metaphorically, literally, because you are lying on a planet. It's easy to forget that. In your day-to-day rush, the ground becomes background. You walk on it, build on it, ignore it. But tonight it holds you, and maybe it remembers more than we think. You wonder, does the earth remember every footstep, every campfire, every burial, every prayer whispered into a canyon where no one else could hear? There's a theory, still debated, called geomagnetic imprinting, the idea that living beings, especially migratory animals, might imprint the magnetic signature of a place. That memory is not just stored in brains but in fields. Some believe humans feel this too, that you carry the signature of where you were born, that you're subtly drawn to places where your ancestors walked, that the body knows, even when the mind has forgotten. It would explain a lot, wouldn't it? Why some places feel familiar before you've ever been there. Why some landscapes feel like lullabies. Why the sound of wind in pine trees can make you cry, even when you're not sad. You shift slightly, not out of restlessness, but reverence. You are lying on memory. The earth has seen every version of you. The barefoot child, the overworked teenager, the tired adult trying to remember what dreaming felt like. It felt like this. A slow exhale, a heartbeat nestled in dirt older than names, and still it holds you. Not because it has to, because it wants to. Here's something you may not know. When a body decomposes in soil, it releases nutrients that nourish new life. That means the earth doesn't just receive the dead, it turns them into everything. Into roots, into moss, into fruit, into stories told by future grandmothers as they slice apples in quiet kitchens. You'd have heard the phrase, ashes to ashes, dust to dust. But it sits not about disappearance. It seps about continuity. Dust isn't set the end. It sands the beginning again. Just wearing different shoes. You think of the mountain ranges, how they rise over eons, only to be worn down again by wind, water, and time. Even stone forgets. Eventually, but not before it leaves behind shape. A valley, a cave, a smooth riverbed where someone might someday find a rock that fits perfectly in their palm. You are becoming that kind of memory. A memory shaped not in pictures or pixels but in feel. In the way someone might walk slower in a garden you once planted. In the way a future child might instinctively hum a melody you never got around to recording. In the way your kindness leaves a geological impression, soft, subtle, but indelible. Because not all memory is mental. Some of it is topographical, imprinted in places, in soil, in sky, in the rhythm of how you once stepped into a room and made it feel just a little more possible. And the earth keeps that, even if it can speak it, even if it takes 10,000 years to say, you were here and we noticed. So tonight, let yourself sink deeper. Let gravity be your lullaby. Let the weight of ancient mountains be your cradle. You are part of this now. Not as something separate, not as something passing through, but as something made from the same slow breath. You are mountain. You are memory. You are what the earth dreams about in its sleep. There's a stillness now, so complete that it almost rings, a quiet not of absence but of reverence. The kind of quiet that cloaks mountaintops after a snowfall. The kind of quiet that lives in museums after hours. The kind of quiet that arrives right before the memory returns. You are nestled in it, wrapped in the softness of near sleep, a place where facts bend into feeling and dreams slip into your room like mist. And in this space you begin to wonder, can the world remember without a mind? Can forests recall footsteps? Can oceans remember the shape of ships that passed through them years before? Can time itself be stained by touch? You drift into this question like a leaf landing on still water quietly, curiously. In the forest there's a phenomenon scientists call the wood wide web, a network of fungi beneath the soil connecting trees to one another. They pass nutrients, warnings, support. Old trees feed young saplings. Sick trees receive extra sugar from neighbors. It's not memory in the way we understand it, but something like it. Something slower, rooted, organic. It sets, not conscious, but it sets, deeply aware. And it makes you wonder, what else is remembering you in ways you've never imagined? The chair that groans slightly when you sit. The sweater that fits better each time you wear it. The mug that warms your hands just right, like it knows. Maybe these aren't just objects. Maybe they're quiet witnesses. Maybe the world has been recording you, not in video, not in words, but in shape, in pressure, in heat. You close your eyes, deeper, now. Your breath has grown so soft it could be mistaken for wind. Somewhere in the back of your mind you recall a strange fact. A single drop of water can remember the structure of things it once touched. Homeopathy is based on this idea. Controversial, yes, but rooted in the notion that water somehow carries memory, that it can be imprinted by molecules long gone. Scientists argue about it. Some dismiss it completely. Others say we haven't yet developed the tools to understand it. But in this dream-adjacent state, you don't need a lab coat to feel the truth beneath the theory that everything you touch, even briefly, is changed by your presence. Not just emotionally, not just spiritually, literally. Your fingerprints are just the obvious part. But what about the heat of your palm on a wooden railing? The exhale left behind in a scarf? The tiny tug your foot made on the grass when you pause to watch the sky? These things remain. Not forever, maybe, but long enough to matter, long enough to be passed forward in imperceptible ways. You begin to drift into a landscape, now not quite a dream, not quite a memory. A field, empty, blue with twilight. And across it, footprints that glow faintly, like old fireflies caught in the soil. You realize they sit yours, not metaphorically, literally. Every step you set taken, every time you walked away, or toward, or around. They subtly here, and they shimmer. There's a quiet debate in physics around the nature of information entropy, whether order inevitably dissolves into chaos, or whether some kind of structure, some trace of the original, always remains. Some theorists believe that black holes, those devourers of light and matter, might not erase information after all. That somehow, even the most violent consuming forces in the universe remember what they swallowed. They just encode it differently. So if even a black hole can retain the essence of what it consumed, why not your pillow? Why not your favorite book? Why not the wind that once wrapped around you and carried your scent into someone else's afternoon? The world is full of strange records, like tree rings that tell stories of drought and sunlight, or ice cores that trap ancient air, or coral that grows in sync with lunar cycles older than language. And somewhere right now there might be a place, some quiet, half-forgotten place where your laughter is still echoing. Not loudly, not obnoxiously, just there. In the walls, in the grass, in the way someone else feels, inexplicably, a little lighter when they enter the space you once stood in. It's stut's not about haunting. It sips about resonance. And resonance doesn't require intention. It only requires presence. So rest now, heavier. Let your breath slow even more. Let your fingers curl loosely like petals. You are not alone in this stillness. The air remembers. The fabric remembers. The earth remembers. And maybe, just maybe, the universe is not a machine after all. Maybe it sets a choir, a body, a soul-shaped ocean where nothing is ever truly lost, only changed. You are not gone. You are only becoming. You're floating now, not in space exactly, but in that soft hallway just past wakefulness, where thoughts turn liquid and time no longer bothers to keep count. You're not asleep yet, but sleep is so close you could kiss it, and maybe you already have. Something curious begins to stir, like a story you forgot you knew. You see dust floating in a beam of early morning light. You've seen it 1,000 times, but now it feels different, sacred somehow, because that dust, it remembers things. Maybe it was once part of a comet, maybe part of a poet, maybe part of someone who once danced on a rooftop in Marrakesh, laughing so hard they woke the pigeons, maybe part of you. The universe doesn't just forget things, it recycles them. Every particle of dust holds a little history, more than we'll ever know, tiny ancient travelers just drifting, waiting, whispering. Scientists have found presolar grains inside meteorites, microscopic specks that are older than our solar system, older than Earth, older than the concept of Monday. And those same grains could be swirling in your bedroom right now, caught in a sunbeam, quietly spinning near your bookshelf, resting invisibly on your pillow, sharing your dreams. Isn't it that absurdly wonderful? You curled in bed, wrapped in blankets from IKEA or your grandmother or both, and around you bits of ancient stars just hanging out, eavesdropping. No pressure. It makes you wonder what else is lingering in the quiet. What else has the universe chosen to hold on to? You think of cities buried in sand, temples swallowed by vines, whispers that once echoed off marble, now only felt by moss. You imagine a footprint on the moon, still there, decades later, untouched by wind or weather, just waiting. You remember that data from the Voyager spacecraft, still drifting at the edge of our solar system, still beaming back whispers, still carrying a golden record with music, greetings, and one human heartbeat. Yours isn't set on that record, but maybe the universe hears it anyway. Because what if it's not about being famous or remembered by name? What if it's set's about resonance? Like how a guitar string hums when another nearby string plays the same note. Like how a certain smell can unlock a childhood you forgot you missed. Like how someone across the world might look at the stars tonight and feel the same ache in their chest. Connection doesn't need an address. It just needs a frequency. And you've been broadcasting your whole life through your laughter, through your tears, through the quiet way you notice things no one else sees. Those moments don't vanish. They scatter. They land. They ripple. There's an idea called panpsychism, a strange and controversial theory suggesting that consciousness might exist at every level of the universe. That awareness isn't just in your brain, but somehow everywhere, even in particles, even in dust. No one sits proving it, but no one sits disproving it either. It's a debate that makes philosophers smile and physicists sigh. But here, in this sleepy cocoon of yours, the idea doesn't seem so far-fetched. Because when you place your hand on a sleeping dog and it sighs with relief, when you cry quietly in a car and the radio shifts to the perfect song, when you stare at the night sky and feel something stare back, not a person, not a god, just something, well, what else could it be but a kind of memory, a recognition, a soft, silent acknowledgement that yes, you're here, and yes, you matter, and yes, the universe has seen you, not in the surveillance way, not in the we're tracking your data way, but in the you left warmth here kind of way. You shift again, and the bed accepts it without complaint. You feel the pillow cradle your cheek like it's known you forever. And maybe in some way, it has. After all, the cotton grew in a field beneath sunlight that once bounced off Saturn. The thread was spun by hands that have long since gone quiet. The fabric stored warmth from 1,000 days before you ever arrived. Memory is embedded in everything. Not always accessible, not always clear, but present. Like a song you can't quite remember, but still hum in your sleep. The universe doesn't forget. It reuses. It folds. It echoes. It loops. So maybe your sorrow will become someone else's kindness. Maybe your joy will become the wind that lifts a kite 2 towns over. Maybe the heat from your chest will someday warm a bird's egg nestled in a high-up branch you'll never see. And maybe, just maybe, the next time someone lies awake at 3 a.m. thinking they been forgotten, they feel you. Not your name, not your story, just your resonance. A shape in the dust, a soft hum in the fabric, a whisper in the cosmic echo that says, "You not alone."